we go. 2. This prelude was Maria Kratz on flute, Professor Merilee Klemp on oboe, Quin Nelson on bassoon, Derek Parshall on the harpsichord, and Lietzau on violin. And they are playing from Telemann's Concerto for flute, oboe, and violin, and they'll play another movement at the end of our chapel time together. As you may know, today is our mindfulness meditation chapel. And so we will read a poem, I will sing, and then we will have a time of silence for meditation. And this poem that I'm going to read for you was in the 18th century with this prelude, and I'm going to fast forward you to 1910. This Finnish author is writing about a fire ritual in Finland at the time leading up to solstice. They would have a fire each night, and members of the community were invited to burn things in the fire. And it reminded me of a ritual that my friends and I have this time of year as well, to gather in someone's backyard and make a big bonfire and burn the things we're ready to let go of. And last year at solstice, we also lit paper lanterns with our prayers and invitations for the new year, and sent those up into the sky as well. And so as I read this poem, I want you to imagine This is a bonfire. And we are gathered around as community. You can imagine in your closest friends and family members. And I invite you to think of something that you might throw into the fire. Just about every night I make a fire in our wood stove, and my youngest son likes to throw in his worksheet that he finished from yesterday. So if there's some homework that you might like to let go of, let's bring it in here, and metaphorically we'll burn it. This is called Summer at North Farm by Stefan Kusisto. Fires, always fires after midnight, the sun depending on the purple birches and gleaming like a copper kettle. By the solstice, they'd burned everything, the bad luck sleigh, a twisted rocker, things possessed and not quite right. The bonfire coils and lurches, big as a house, and then it settles. The dancers come, dressed like rainbows, if rainbows could be spun, and linking hands, they turn to the melancholy fiddles. A red bird spreads its wings now and in the darker days to come. And before we enter into our time of meditation, I'm going to sing a song for you. And during our meditation, we're going to use our hands to let go of something and to invite in something. And that could be many things: equanimity, justice, the feeling of peace. And you can let go of anything material or spiritual, a feeling that you want to. But while I sing, I want you to imagine for yourself the most precious thing that you could hold and bring it in for yourself. That might be one word or one item or one idea. And then one word or one idea that you want to let go during this meditation time. And this is a song, the words are from Hafiz. It's one line of a poem that goes, "Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels." And it was set to music by Barbara McAfee. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Now we will breathe at our own tempo, with our own body, in and out. Notice if your breath is shaky. Notice if each breath feels more secure, or if there's still rattles of anxiety as you breathe in, and accept what is arising. Breathe out, let it go. I invite you to place one hand or both hands in your lap. And as you breathe in, you may wish to lightly close your hand. Invite in that word, that feeling, that idea. And as you exhale, open your hands and feel like there's smoke coming out of the palm of your hand, releasing the word or idea or feeling that you are ready to put in the fire. We will sit in silence for 5 minutes. Keep focusing on your breath. Keep focusing on your words. I invite this in. I let this go. If your mind wanders, or if you hear some other sounds, we'll welcome those too and release them. I'll keep track of the time so you don't have to worry about the next class, the next meeting. That'll be there when you're done. Let's let go and breathe together. come back into this space. You can wiggle your toes and move as you like. I'm going to sing this simple chant a few more times, and you're welcome to join me if you like. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. It's never easy, it's never comfortable going into the darkness and sitting in silence. But we find jewels. We find the answers in our creative source. So thank you for taking time, for being brave, for showing up today. I'll read Summer at North Farm one more time before we close. Put ourselves back in that northern Finland night. Probably a little bit cold, so we're huddled together for warmth around the flames. Fires, always fires after midnight. The sun depending in the purple birches and gleaming like a copper kettle. By the solstice, they'd burned everything. The bad luck sleigh, a twisted rocker, things possessed and not quite right. The bonfire coils and lurches big as a house, and then it settles. The dancers come, dressed like rainbows, if rainbows could be spun, and linking hands they turn to the melancholy fiddles. A red bird spreads its wings now, and in the darker days to come. And now we will turn to the not-so-melancholy fiddles.